Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just hit the link in the show description to support now.
Welcome to the Horror Hangout podcast, where two bearded film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time. My name is Luke Condor with Kate. I'm joined by my regular co-host,
It's Mr. Ben Errington.
And a special guest today. We have a certain Mr. Stu Freeman. Hey, Stu.
Hello. How's it going?
Hey, Stu. How you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, really good, thanks.
Thanks for joining us. Give you a bit of an introduction. So, Stu Freeman, a.k.a. StuTube, or StuTube. Sorry, I may have pronounced that wrong. Geeky queer YouTuber, gig promoter, and gamer. So you've got a YouTube channel where you do various horror list countdowns and various things. And we both know each other. We're from here in Bristol in the music scene. So I thought you'd be a good fit, especially for this movie today, because it was on one of your lists. Your found for 10 underlooked found footage movies, was that right? 10 horror movie hidden gems you might have missed. It's right in front of me and I'm trying to say something else. So there we go.
So I have a question. What else was on that list? Well, I mean, we don't want to spoil the video, I guess. But is there a couple of us that we could...
I had a couple,
So I remember putting in Grave Encounters and Devil's Pass, and I mentioned Wreck. Wreck and Wreck 2 are like my favourite found footage movies of all time.
Yeah.
I find Wreck 2 is just terrifying. So
Wreck 2?
Yeah, on it.
So Wreck 1 is in the tower block.
Wreck 2 is as well.
Yeah.
But Wreck 2 is like they aren't like military or police or something. Going around with guns. There's an amazing bit in Wreck 2 where like someone, it's like if the light's on, there's nothing there in this attic, and if the light's off, there's like a well or like a thing of water. The guy falls into it or slips in or something, and then the light goes off, and they're like no idea where he's gone.
Yeah.
I barely remember it. I barely remember it at all. I remember the third one was at the wedding, wasn't it?
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, that's rubbish.
See, I remember quite liking it. I think I watched like a kill count thing of it recently, and I was like, I do remember quite liking this. Is that it? Is there a 4? There is a 4. Wreck 4 Apocalypse. Just from looking at the...
Johan was telling us to watch that. I remember.
Oh, really? Just from looking at the poster, it looks kind of naff. Maybe on a boat? Looks like it's on a boat. This is crazy. But I think that's it. Wreck 4. What's your favourite found footage movie, Luke? Would you say it was Wreck? Would you say it was...
No,
the Blair Witch Project is the obvious answer. And it feels like it's too obvious, doesn't it? It feels almost like...
Yeah. Well, it is... I mean, the last like 5 minutes of that are like terrifying. Wreck is up there because I've got a really good memory. We were at university, me and like 8 of 23-year-old men drinking really strong beer.
Men.
Stuck a film on, go on. And then like within like a minute, like we were all like absolutely petrified of what we were watching. It was just a really good memory.
That's fragile masculinity for you. Just broken down immediately into its most volatile nature. There we go.
But I might even say as above, so below. I don't know, just because that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I quite like that. But I was quite late to the party. I think I only saw that maybe last year.
Yeah.
Sticking on Wreck, have you guys seen Quarantine? So the US remake of that?
I have. It's not good.
Yeah. I remember not really enjoying it very much at all.
Yeah. It's pretty much almost shot for shot of the Wreck, but just not as good. And with really hammy acting, and then with like a CGI monster at the end instead of like practical effects, so it just doesn't work.
Really?
Well, yeah, it's not as good.
That moment at the end of Wreck is horrific.
Yeah,
but yeah, I remember. Quarantine's always one of those movies I mention when people mention pointless remakes. I go, that is an absolutely pointless remake. I can kind of understand why some remakes exist, but yeah, just changing the language and basically remaking it shot for shot is lame.
Yeah,
lame as balls.
Yeah, just learn to read. Just learn how to read.
Just learn how to read, guys. Come on. Yeah, but the subtitles thing, I think it's just like an extra interesting thing. Because sometimes I watch movies and I go, I might need to put the subtitles on with this anyway, because especially with found footage, it's kind of carnage. I do it with games as well. I find there's so much.
I always have them on with games because I don't know, like I just prefer them to be there as a little comfort in case I miss anything. Work out what it says.
Sometimes in a cutscene there's like a detail where it's like telling you essentially what you need to do the next section of the game, and if you miss that, you're screwed.
You screw it. Yeah.
Stu, are you subtitles on your games? Would you say?
I am now. So I never used to be, but my other half is Sicilian, and so sometimes when people have got like really strong English accents or a really strong like American like Southern accent or something like that, can't get on with it. So we put subtitles on. I've got so used to it now that I'm like, oh, okay, this is fine. I'll just I can put them on. But the problem with games is that, like I always say, I've read it before they've said it, and that's a problem.
yeah. Especially when it's a moment that's got like really gravitas, or like it's a super dramatic moment or a reveal, and you're like, I've bloody read that now.
Yeah. Like I'm waiting for them to say something else now. Come on. So there's
spoiler alerts. Me.
Have you ever had it where the subtitles are like slightly out by? It could be like 3 seconds. I think I did this when we watched Shin Godzilla, where the subtitles were just slightly later than everything that was being said, and I was just, or maybe slightly before. Yeah, something was off. So it's like these really dramatic moments, and people like giving a hell of a performance, and then 3 seconds later, what they actually said, and I was like, that. Yeah, that's stressful, very stressful. Right, shall I do some horror news?
Yeah, let's do what's cracking.
What have we got going on this week in horror? So, Faces of Death reboot is in the works from the filmmakers who made Cam. Did you guys see Cam? I think you did, Lou, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you see that, Stu? Did you say?
No,
it was like a... Oh, God, how can I explain it? So, it's like a cam girl.
Station.
Babe Station. Babe Station, the movie. Finally, you get to see... How would you describe it? I'll keep a way of describing it.
So,
like a cam girl.
Babe Station. I mean, so it's Babe Station, but the cam girl, she finds that she's been streaming when she's not actually there. So we find out there's like a doppelganger
like
kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right, that was the word I was thinking of, doppelganger. And it was also a bit like, oh my God, what's like the Screen Life horror movie called? What can I think of that?
Unfriended.
Unfriended, yeah. So it was a bit like that. So some of it it wasn't all Screen Life, though, was it?
No.
So yeah, it was really good though. It was one of my favourites of whichever year it came out, 2017. I'm not really doing it justice by misremembering every minor detail here, and I'm very sorry. So Babe Station, the movie. So Faces of Death, which was released in 1978, is one of the most infamous films of all time, allegedly showcasing real footage of real death. Do you reckon that's true? No. So it was special effects. But yeah, in 2021, where that won't be as big an effect as it would have been released in 1978. So yeah, that sounds interesting. I don't know if I've actually even seen Faces of Death. I know a bit about it, but it was banned in 46 countries, it says here on the front of the cover of the VHS. That's not bad, really. There's lots more countries than that, aren't there?
Where did it sit on the iceberg rating system of horror movies or disturbing movies? Have you seen that, Steve?
No.
So it's like the tip of the iceberg. The top of the iceberg is like the not that disturbing horror movies. So I don't know, The Exorcist or whatever. And then you're a little bit deeper on the iceberg, and the films are like, say, Faces of Death or Cannibal Holocaust, Human Centipede. And then they get to like these more and more obscure, more disturbing films that I didn't even think were real, but they apparently are.
So we had Zobo with a shotgun, who's like a extreme horror aficionado, on the podcast like a little while ago, and she was basically telling us about some of these movies. I don't think she'd seen all of them, but she'd seen a few of them, and she was just telling us the concept of some of them as well. Some of them which may or may not be snuff movies, some of them which are just sexual assault just for 90 minutes. So pretty horrific stuff, but me and Luke realised that we were actually quite vanilla in terms of the stuff we'd seen. So I can't remember what the most extreme one. I think even Cannibal Holocaust was maybe one of the most extreme ones we'd seen.
That was one of those extreme ones we'd seen, but like it was only like level 3 out of 7.
Yeah,
What?
we'll send the image to you, Stu, because I think we found it on Reddit, and I didn't even want to Google some of them because they were just like
Your laptop shuts down automatically.
Your laptop just crumbles in on itself and just goes no. Like you'll only be able to find it on corners of the dark web or something. You got to put a transaction in, which actually someone comes around and takes one of your kidneys and drops off a DVD of it, or stuff like that.
Yeah, back up. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. So there's that Face of Death.
Excuse me.
Is that Deliveroo turning up outside?
The guy from the dark web. He's delivering Cannibal Holocaust 5.
That's how you order it. You just talk about it on a podcast, and they know. Yeah. Okay. What else? We've got so Orphan First Kill. Director William Brent Bell is talking about bringing Esther back for an extremely violent prequel. Is anyone looking forward to this, or did anyone know this was happening? The Orphan prequel.
I knew it was happening. But
are you a fan, Stu, of Orphan?
Do you know what? I loved the first movie. I thought it was great. And I will say that I did not figure out the twist. I'm one of the few people that didn't figure out the twist halfway through.
People who say they figured out the twist are just liars.
Yeah.
They're really old people pretending to be young.
But I thought it was great, and I loved the ending. I thought it just did a really good job of just making that character just terrifying, basically. But I don't think there's anything else to say. I don't think there's anything that... And also, the girl who was playing Esther is going to be so much older now, which means that she's going to be closer to the age that she's meant to be anyway.
24 years old now, so how on earth is that going to work as a prequel?
Yeah.
I genuinely have no idea. Are they just going to dress her up the same and say she's the same age or younger than before? Or, I don't know. Maybe she's just got a really good skincare routine that we don't know about, and she looks somehow younger. But the director's been talking about it, and I think it's supposed to come out possibly next year. Mm-hmm. But he's done an interview, I think, on Bloody Disgusting, talking about it as well. So I might check that out. Another story I saw on Bloody Disgusting. So, Luke, you know Max Booth, don't you?
I do, yeah.
You do indeed. Well, IFC Midnight has picked up the indie We Need to Do Something ahead of its Tribeca premiere. And it's going to premiere on demand September the 3rd. So it's just... I haven't actually read the book, but I know it's just a single location.
Yeah.
What were you going to say then, sorry?
Oh, sorry. The book is like a novella, but it's amazing. It's really... no wonder it's been made into a film so quickly, and... and it's getting received really well.
Super cool. So basic synopsis is: after Melissa and her family seek shelter from a storm, they become trapped with no sign of rescue. Hours turn to days, and Melissa becomes to realize that she and her girlfriend might have something to do with the horrors that threaten to tear her family and the entire world apart. So a single location movie where the stakes could tear the entire world apart. That's terrifying. So yeah. Looking forward to that, and obviously it's awesome that Max is getting this made as well.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Did we talk about that TV show, Them? Did we talk about that last week?
No, I don't think we have. I think maybe you were gonna watch it. I haven't seen it. Have you seen any of it, Stu?
No, not at all.
No.
Okay, might be jumping the gun a bit first. So, was there any other news? We just jumped straight into the watching segment.
No, not really any other news. I was going to talk about the Resident Evil Village release, but I've been playing that, so I guess I'll talk about that in the next section. That probably makes sense. Mm-hmm. So, what have you been watching, Luke? Have you seen Them?
No, I haven't actually. Why?
I don't know. I've been talking about it.
I just completely forgot that I'd watched it, and then I was looking for the news site, and I saw a picture, and I was like, "Oh, I watched that entire TV show in about 2 days." It's so the only reason I watched this is because people were telling me it's quite gruesome, quite horrifying in a good way. And then other people I saw were saying it's quite exploitative. So it's like that genre of the Jordan Peele genre, I guess you'd call it now, taking sort of horrendous racist things that have happened in the past and making horror entertainment out of it, which I mean is kind of like the definition of an exploitation film. So then the TV show is takes place in the 50s and 60s. A black family move to like a Californian suburb. They're one of the first black families to move into this neighborhood where everyone's white and pristine. You've got like the white picket fences, and everyone works at everyone's drinking a bottle of Coca-Cola, that kind of environment. And that's like the seed of the horror, that this kind of otherness. But then it gets really Stephen Kingy. Like there's lots of actual horrendous monster kind of stuff going on as well. I would say it's extremely you can't stop watching it. Like it's extremely watchable. It maybe is a bit exploitative, but I mean, we watch exploitation films all the time. That's like a lot of horror genre comes from that.
It's just kind of the wave of obviously from the success of Jordan Peele, the success of Get Out, because obviously there was that Antebellum as well, which I think wasn't great. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's not so good. There seems to be this wave of sort of like Jordan Peele light. I would say Jordan Peele light films, just because they don't seem to be as critically acclaimed. Lovecraft County, yeah. You know what? I've not seen that either. That's been on my radar for absolutely ages.
I didn't hear good things about that one, but I think then maybe is coming a little bit late in that wave, it was a very short wave, I guess. I would say I really liked it. It wasn't perfect, but in terms of a really scary, solid TV show, it's way better than like American Horror Story and those kind of things. Very tightly woven together, very good. Yeah, I recommend it.
Okay, so that is on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Stu, I was going to ask you, obviously, in terms of your YouTube channel and stuff, just going to ask you briefly before we talk about what you've been watching. Sure. Like, what's your history with horror, and what made you want to start a YouTube channel where you count? Because I know your YouTube channel is not just horror movies. There's comic book stuff on there, gaming stuff. You did a Mortal Kombat video recently as well, which is awesome. So yeah, what inspired you, I guess, to do horror movie countdowns as well?
I mean, I think my obsession with horror comes from my mum. She's a massive horror fan and always got me into like Hammer horror movies and things like that when I was really young. And that's what sort of started me on this sort of obsession where I just love the sort of thrill that you get from horror movies. I don't think you get them from many other films or many other types of medium. It just gets your blood going, and I just found that I just really resonated with a lot of those sort of older films. And then when I was a teenager, me and one of my best friends would just ridiculously obsessed with going to various shops and just getting like the whole collection of certain things. So all the Friday the 13th, all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, all those franchises, I just caning them in a weekend. So, so that was, me growing up, and I've just always loved it ever since. And then I've always been a fan of YouTube, and I've always wanted to do something on there, and I didn't know what. And I think because I do the gigs that I do, where they're kind of like live gigs that we have 3 bands, and we also have like a sort of drag queen or king as a host. So it's like a sort of punk cabaret. And then at the end of the night, I usually get up on stage and sort of thank everyone. So it's a bit more like a sort of event, an occasion, than just a gig. And that sort of spurred me on and gave me a little bit more confidence. And then last year in lockdown, me and my friend Claire did a music show on Twitch, and we were just trying to help out sort of music artists, because obviously no one was being helped in the pandemic. So we were just getting like loads of unsigned bands and stuff on there. And honestly, I never thought I'd do anything like that. It was one of those sort of situations where I was like, yeah, okay, I'll see how it goes. And I just really enjoyed it. And so that kind of gave me the confidence to go, actually, I'm just going to try a YouTube channel, and I did it. Well, I did my first video on New Year's Eve this year, so I only just started it this year. But I'm loving it, and I think when it started, it was just going to be playthroughs. So it's just going to be me playing video games and sort of chatting about them. And then I found that it was a bit restrictive. I found that I was like constantly thinking, "Oh, now I've definitely got to finish this game. Now I've just started it." And so I did. I did a top 20. You know, where you just think, "Oh, damn it, I've started something now and I can't finish it." So I did a top 20 horror games. That was the start of it. And then I realized that I just wanted to do lots of different kinds of content. So now I'm doing a little bit of everything. And I'm really enjoying the horror stuff. So I'm probably going to go more down that route than anything else at the minute.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. As I mentioned before, we'll put the links to Stu's YouTube channel in the show notes. I love a good top 10 list. It's mostly it's because obviously you want to see what someone's top 10 is as well, don't you? Because a little part of you is like you want to discover stuff you have no idea exists, but another part of you wants to be like, I don't agree. I'm definitely not the YouTube commenter who goes, this list is terrible. What about this? What about that?
Missing this. Invalid.
Yeah,
invalid. Delete yourself from.
Delete this.
From watching your found footage movie list, so it was 10 found footage horror movies you might have missed. I read the wrong title previously for the wrong video. 10 horror movie hidden gems was a different one. So there were plenty on there that I hadn't seen before, and one of them was today's movie, and I'd never seen it before. It was the first time watching that. Yeah, so that's cool. So yeah, what have you watched anything of note this week, Stu?
We are watching Penny Dreadful, which I absolutely love. So I've seen the first 2 seasons before, and I was speaking to my other half about it and saying how amazing it is. And then I was just like, do you know what? I'm just going to buy the box set because I want to see how it ends. And 2 episodes in, and he's absolutely obsessed with it now. And so now we've just got to cane the whole thing. Now we're on season 2. But I think anyone who watches that and is into horror, if you don't like it by the end of episode 2, there's something wrong with you. Because like the seance episode with Evergreen,
and your horror card back. Give me it, horror fan.
You're not allowed to watch anymore. That's it. It's just so ridiculously good. The seance episode is so good, and it's just got the end of episode 2. Sorry, it's just got a really good twist in it. And yeah, ever since then we've been caning that. So I'm trying to get to season 3 as quick as I can because I know that's the final season, and that's the one I haven't seen.
Okay. Josh Hartnett's in it as well. I don't see much of him these days, do you?
Yeah.
And Eva Green, of course. I don't really know that much about it. So is it just like, give me. Quick.
So it's sort of Victorian horror show that basically goes through all of the sort of universal monsters. So you've got like your werewolf, Dracula, Dorian Gray, Frankenstein, all those things. But they do a twist on it. And a Penny Dreadful was a short story. Back in the sort of 1800s, that was basically sold for a penny, and they were meant to be these sort of horrible, like tacky, almost like little horror shorts, and that's why it's called that. So it became, a sort of TV series that was more about like the sort of twist that they can do on these sort of classic tales.
There's a spin-off as well, isn't there?
There is. Apparently, it's not that good, and the spin-off isn't like a sort of Victorian TV series. It's set a few years later, and it's in America. So I might check that out, but I've been told that it's not as good.
Okay, I've not seen it, so that's something I could possibly check out. Anything else anyone's watched this week?
No, I've been playing lots of a certain game. Not a game that everyone else has been playing.
Oh, you're one of those guys, are you? Like, I'm playing something else, guys. I'm ahead of the curve. I'm behind the curve. I'm weaving around the curve. Have you been playing?
Go on. Yeah. I've finished it now. It's really good. I've talked about it last week, right? I think.
Yeah, you have. Stu's playing Control as well.
Yes.
3 control players together.
It's weird. I was really into it. I was like, what is it about it? I mean, it's obviously the David Lynch element stuff, and it's got the kind of a Twin Peaksy vibe at times, and it's got, X-Files kind of fringe. It gets a bit fringy at times. But then I was reading some interviews with some of the writers, and they were talking about how their main influence was the genre of New Weird, which is like such a great fiction genre. Annihilation. There's Jeff Vandermeer stuff all comes under that. They said they were talking about they watched Tarkovsky's Stalker and all this kind of stuff. And I've always really, really liked, and I think that's the vibe. That kind of, it's not quite horror, but it's just unusual. Like, I don't know, that weirdness is really really interesting and really tasty.
It brings Alan Wake into it as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, in the DLC, there's 2 DLCs. As soon as you finish the game, Alan Wake starts talking.
Yeah, that's right. I think I've accidentally gone into some DLC because I got the Ultimate Edition. So I think I've gone into an area where some DLC has happened because I've seen Alan Wake stuff. So, but yeah, I love it. The whole aesthetic of the game is like...
Yeah, it's perfect, yeah.
And all the controls, like I started playing a new game and I couldn't shake the controls. I kept trying to grab things with telekinesis, and I'm like, can't do that in this game. And unfortunately, in the new game I've been playing, that's like the healing button. So I've been wasting so many healing items by trying to do fucking telekinesis. Jesus.
So you've been playing a game that the entire internet has been playing, right?
Yeah, I have indeed. I just had to, had to dive straight in, and I finished it now. I just couldn't put it down, and I was so scared of like spoilers because I think I'd seen a few YouTube thumbnails where it was like the top 10 most shocking moments in Resident Evil Village, and like what does this mean? Ending explained, and boss battles, and Easter eggs, all that stuff. So I was like, right, I'm gonna have to knuckle down and finish it, which I did. I'll probably need a bit more time to truly, digest it and think about what I actually thought, because I only finished it probably about 6:30 today, only a couple of hours ago. But yeah, I think initially, like obviously the fact that you mentioned just then about Penny Dreadful Stew with all vampires and werewolves and Frankensteins and stuff, it leans heavily into gothic horror and sort of classic monsters. I think obviously everybody does know that, so I'm not going to spoil anything. It does feel like a sequel, but I think it also stands alone really well. If you didn't play Resident Evil 7, it really wouldn't matter if you just dive straight into this. And it does feel like more experimental in places. I've read a lot of people saying, well, I've seen some reviews saying the horror isn't so varied, but I think it's probably one of the most varied games of any main installment of Resident Evil, and it's just really rewarding, like the puzzle solving, treasure finding. There's a real emphasis on exploration, and I just really enjoyed that. I was worried it was going to be a really linear experience, because obviously Resident Evil 7 was kind of linear. There weren't so many enemy types, and it felt like it was very, very cinematic. So even though it's great, it's amazing, it's one of my favorites, but this one I felt like just took a bit more, it sounds ridiculous, took a bit more of a step back, and then maybe took about 10 steps forwards at a certain point. It's insanely
good. Do you prefer 8 to 7?
As I said, it's really hard to say because they're very, very different games. At the moment, I feel like I prefer 8 to 7, and I really like 7. Like 7's up there, but yeah, something about this is, and very, very reminiscent of Resident Evil 4, and I really enjoyed that. Like, it just felt like, in terms of the vibes, it felt like the gameplay was more Resident Evil 7, but in terms of the vibes, very Resident Evil 4, and even some bits later in the game. Again, not going to spoil anything, but it almost felt like I was dropped straight back into that time when I was playing Resident Evil 4 for the first time, however many years ago, on the GameCube. Yeah. It's great, and I'm probably going to play it. Well, there's a Mercenaries mode as well, which is back for the first time since Resident Evil 5, possibly. So, yeah, there is a bit more action in some areas, but, it's very, very enjoyable. I highly recommend it, and it's definitely lived up to the hype. a lot of people saying, a lot in the demos and a lot of the footage we've seen of it so far are pretty spoilerific. No way. There's so much to find out, and it's great. I love it. How many green herbs out of 10? Right now, maybe 9.5.
Oh,
whoa!
That might drop back. When I've had some more time to think about it. It might go up if I play it again. 'Cause I think I'm going to play it again on because pretty much every time I play a new game, especially a horror game, definitely a horror game, always play on standard, medium mode. But second playthrough, I'll try and see how hard I can do it. See how hard I can take it. Come on, Resi.
Are you a Resi fan, Stu?
I am. I'm one of those weird Resi fans where I quite enjoyed the sort of action phase of Resident Evil. So 4, 5, and 6 really did it for me, especially playing 5 and 6 co-op as well. I really dug that. And I do like those. I think 7 I'd only played for the first time last year. I bought it when we were in lockdown and played it on our projector and was absolutely terrified to the point where I was like, I think I want to turn the lights on now. Yeah, okay. It was pretty scary. And also it was one of those games where I really like the feeling in horror games where you just don't want to turn the corner. You don't want to go any further. You're like, I think that's good. I'm just going to go back.
Tactical backtrack. There were a few moments, a couple in particular in this game where I was walking forward at such a slow pace as the shadows slowly parted, and it was horrific. Sweaty palms. And I think I even said at one point, this is supposed to be fun, and I felt like I want to die. I'm just gonna have to have a break from it. Just have a break. If I have 5 minutes,
I feel like those games, if I don't just keep my finger on if I don't blue tack the analog stick to the forward bit, I just won't go anywhere. So I just have to constantly press forward.
I captured a certain moment, and obviously, in a few months or however long, I will share it. But it might genuinely be one of the most tense moments from the series. And obviously, talking about tense moments in the series, there are probably 100 you could think of. Mm-hmm. But this is just really, because you just have no idea what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. So, good times. I'm so glad that I enjoyed it, because I was a tiny bit worried when I first saw the trailer. I was like, vampires, werewolves. I know they're bioweapons, but what the hell is going on? But so there we go. But that's pretty much all I've done this week. I've seen a couple of things, but nothing much other than playing Resident Evil. So that's it.
Cool. Anything else you've seen or played or done, Stick?
Not really. I've mostly been playing the Avengers game because I love that at the minute. So I've been playing a lot of that, and I went back to Mortal Kombat because of the new movie. So I went back to Mortal Kombat 11 and did a little bit of the story on that again, just because I love it. But apart from that,
we can get another opinion on Mortal Kombat then, Luke. What did you think?
I am a massive Mortal Kombat fan, as you can tell, because I did a whole video on it, and I actually really liked it. I watched it and thought, do you know what? That entertains me, and it was good in the parts that I needed to be good. It was, the special effects kind of held up. Everyone looked great. The script left a lot to be desired, and and there's just tiny little bits in it that would be just made so much better if they just had either the tiniest bit of exposition or just a hint at someone's backstory. It would have been just a million times better. Cole Young just had no reason to be in it at all. They just didn't do it for me. But
I wouldn't mind if they gave Cole Young a cool something interesting about him. Yeah, but he was so bland compared to all the other characters.
He had a suit that looked like he was a bastard.
Yeah. It looked like
hamper.
Yeah, and the fact that he just got his ass handed to him for the whole film as well. All of a sudden at the end, he just becomes this great fighter. But for most of the film, he just got the crap kicked out of him. The changes to the lore and all that stuff, it's all obviously studio related, isn't it? It's just like them thinking that they know best. But yeah, for what it is, I really enjoyed it. It's still, it's still on a par, I think, with the 95 one.
Yeah, I've not seen the 95 movie in so long, so
same here. I think I've seen it in GIF form more than I've actually seen it in the movie. Yeah, cool. There we go. So, chat about today's movie then, called The Taking of Deborah Logan. The Taking of Deborah Logan is a 2014 American found footage supernatural horror film. It is the feature film directorial debut of Adam Robitel, who co-wrote the screenplay and edited the film with Gavin Heffernan.
I think it's the gaffer tape. Edited the film with gaffer tape.
Gaffer tape. The film stars Jill Larson, Anne Ramsey, and Michelle Ang. Set in Virginia, it tells the story of a documentary crew making a film about Alzheimer's patients who uncover something sinister while documenting a woman who has the disease.
Yes. So IMDb has it at 6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score is 91%. The audience score is 48%. Letterboxd has it at an average of 3.1 out of 5. Some choice Letterboxd reviews here. El Vakasi says, I feel like a shitty person, but I've never laughed so hard in my life. Lol, 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 lol. 5 stars. Michael Vincent said, my boyfriend spewed chunks during this movie. Don't recommend. Half a star.
Is that related to the movie? Or was it like a...
I don't know. Just doesn't recommend having a boyfriend that spews chunks.
Food
I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Matthew Matthew Ryan says, this is literally a Blair Witch remake. There's even a fucking house. 5 stars.
Not a house. Oh, I hate when they put houses in films.
The horror movie House is obviously influenced by Blair Witch.
I'll tell you what, though, it's a pretty good horror movie house. Because I love those houses that have just got so many attic spaces and little alcoves and creepy little bits. It reminded me a bit of The House, but sort of on a bigger scale. Sorry, reminded me a bit of The House from Relic. With all those little winding corridors and alcoves and hidden bits, and be good to explore in a video game situation, I think. But pretty terrifying.
Like a little walking sim sort of horror PT style game. Last one here from Cassius. I just got to say, if you find this movie scary, you're either some little 12-year-old or have a walnut for a brain. Half a star.
Kind of the same thing. Little 12-year-old walnut brains.
Wow.
What's not to find scary about it, though? Like there's so many real life horrors, and the horror of the degenerative disease, as well as creepy, ghostly demon things, French demons. Yeah.
Well, found footage movies, I think, even if they're kind of crap, they're still kind of scary. Like there is something. It's like a first-person narrative, like finding a journal entry, that kind of short story. That's quite scary. Or like, a podcast that sort of, these sort of diary podcast things where someone's like, "Oh, I found a tape. This is what the tape said. Oh, I'm dead." Those kind of scary podcast short stories. But like the found footage, there's something about. Even though it's obviously not real, but there's some kind of suspension of disbelief that you, by watching it, you're agreeing to. Oh yeah, someone's found this footage. I mean, the Blair Witch obviously did this the best. Oh, this could be real. There is something still in that, even in the really bad ones. Well, maybe not the really bad ones. Even in the kind of bad ones, there's still something in you that goes, "Oh, this could be real," even though it's not. Like it's easier to suspend your disbelief when there's no tracking shots.
Stu, why would you say that this made your list of found footage horror movies?
I think it was quite unexpected. There was a sort of sharp left turn in the narrative, as we'll go through later, that all of a sudden made me go, okay, I wasn't expecting that. And also there's that one scene at the end that no one can forget. The the scene that we'll talk about later. That you just
it's like, what is she? Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, the sort of camera goes around and you go, oh God. And then, and then you're like, okay, cool. Well, I've got to show everyone I've ever met now because I've had to see it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of like, found footage movies, I think you're definitely right. Like if you're watching something like that and you see this sort of, grainy mini DV camcorder footage, that all of a sudden something in your brain says, oh God, this is totally real or could be real. And then the more I watch like found footage movies that have got like high def cameras, like As Above, So Below, love that film, but it looks way too shiny for me. And therefore I was like, yeah, I'm in it, but I'm also not in it. It's like,
let's just get the lighting set up before this terrible thing happens. Just make sure it's perfect. Yeah.
Also, this for a found footage movie, this has a distinct lack of, I guess you call it, distortion, jump scares, where the camera just starts to squeak and goes all crackly, and you're supposed to find something terrifying is happening, but it's just confusion.
I was very happy about that because I think the jump scare. Well, there were several scares, but the jumpy scares kind of felt earned as well. They didn't feel like it was just, going dark and then suddenly a big scary face right in the camera for whatever reason. And also, it's one of those films with a lot of found footage films. You do find yourself saying, "Why are they still filming?" You do say that all the time, and at least this kind of sets it up. The one thing I kind of find a little bit difficult to believe is if you're going to go and film somebody who may have Alzheimer's disease and sort of document that in a sensitive way, would you set up cameras in the house? I don't know. It seems a bit unnecessary, but I guess I could kind of look. I could kind of look past that for whatever reason. But yeah, I like the where it went. This was one of those films where there's a few modern exorcism films that I have skipped, and I really do like exorcism films. The Exorcist is one of my favorite movies, but this one I haven't seen. The Exorcism of Emily Rose, not seen that, and I know that's is that what it's called?
That's the one with Deborah from Dexter, right?
Yeah,
is that one? Yeah.
There's a few. This sort of wave in the sort of from probably like 2008 through to 2015 of there being like these exorcism movies, I kind of skipped out on. I don't know why. I don't know whether there was just something about them that didn't appeal to me too much. This was one of them, despite the fact that the poster and that sort of image of Deborah Logan and Jill Larson, who obviously the performance is outstanding. In terms of, it could be very, very easy to get this performance completely wrong and dial it up to 11 and make it really over the top. But it feels like it's a genuine portrayal of somebody experiencing something like this. I mean, I've witnessed something similar, not a demonic possession, or
is that where your hair went? Stuck to
my hair, hightailed it out of there as soon as that happened. What happened? My hair got sucked off, did you say? Yep.
Yeah, by the possessed grandma, or whoever it was.
Bloody hell. That is a horror movie. Possessed grandma sucking you off. Your hair off. Sorry. That's what I meant. No, don't. I mean, maybe for a second. No. Get off. Are you still recording?
Oh, God.
What's really bad is that I was trying to be quite sincere then, and it's smutty. Let me try and be sincere. I've witnessed firsthand, somebody suffering with dementia, so I kind of understand. He's laughed at that. He didn't know.
That's still laughing at the previous thing.
Yeah, that's right. Laugh it up. So yeah, that kind of made me feel like this performance felt really genuine to me, and it felt like it represented that in a way that didn't feel exploitative. So it really resonated with me, and I was really impressed, and I think that's why I was so invested in this film and sort of where it went after that.
Yeah, some of the criticisms I saw were about the Alzheimer's element, like, oh, you are pretending that people with Alzheimer's is a demonic possession. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of people complaining about that. I mean, that's not actually technically true in the story. I think because she's ill, it's easier for her to become possessed. I think that was the idea.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about that? Like this being used as a plot device, basically.
The things that I wasn't particularly set on were the reactions of the other characters to her Alzheimer's symptoms. I just think like a lot of people were making it worse, and something you would never ever do to somebody who has Alzheimer's or dementia or something is show them a recording of something they were doing while they were in any sort of state where they weren't quite themselves. Like that is going to terrify somebody to the point of possibly no return. Like that felt like that was like that. Why are you doing that? And the way everyone kind of like surrounded her while she was having an episode and kind of smothered her in a way, or like micromanaged every single element of everything she was doing. Though that stuff was a bit like, this isn't correct, and you wouldn't want a film crew document it in that way. If someone was suffering from Alzheimer's disease, maybe interview the person, interview the family, talk about things like that. Don't document every waking moment of that person's life, because we understand what goes into it. We don't need to see her teleporting up onto the kitchen worktop.
Yeah.
Get your feet down off of there. Disgusted. But yeah, in terms of a plot point, being used as a plot device, I think, apart from all that stuff which I just said, apart from that, I think it's fine. It kind of makes sense that obviously it was somebody that she'd been involved with. Well, I'm spoiling that, but we're going to be spoiling the hell out of this film anyway. So, but yeah, it was effective. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
So, this is the first time watching you, Ben. Stu, you've watched it once before, or more than that?
Yeah, I've seen it twice now. I watched it a couple of nights ago, just to refresh.
Cool. I mean, so I don't recognise any actors or actresses even. They're all kind of unfamiliar faces, right? I don't think there was anyone in there that I was aware of.
It's strange. Obviously, it doesn't look like Jill Larson's. It looks like she's acted from the 70s all the way through to her last movie in 2018. With such a performance like this, it's almost like this is one of those performances where you're like, it's such a shame that horror films and horror performances. I mean, I know we've had a few over the recent few years and stuff, but it's such a shame they don't get recognised more in sort of mainstream award ceremonies. I know they don't really mean much, but to some people they do. And obviously to the actors themselves, probably a lot more than we give them credit for. So yeah, this is one of those performances where I was like, I'm surprised we didn't hear more about how good this performance was. It kind of just, for me at least, it kind of went under the radar.
Yeah, I think the main characters as well, obviously Deborah Logan and her daughter, like the performances between both of them just really made it shine. Like it felt very natural in a way that a lot of found footage, obviously they're meant to sort of act as natural as possible, but sometimes even that goes a bit too far and you don't really believe some of the things that they do or say. But in this, for some reason, those two just felt like mother and daughter. And obviously Jill Larson, as you say, just does such an incredible job of sort of bringing that character to life, but all the different parts of that character as well. So sometimes you do feel sort of empathetic towards her, and you do feel like, I feel very sorry for you because of what you're going through. And then all of a sudden, in the next scene, she's, terrifying and scuttling around in a nightie and stuff. And yeah, so it's
yeah, it was a very nuanced and interesting relationship between mother and daughter as well. I'm glad that it was given a bit of history. They were given a bit of history. And it wasn't sort of straightforward as like it would have been very easy to go loving mother and daughter who've had no problems in their relationship, and now she's suffering of Alzheimer's and daughter reacts it was just interesting to see sort of some history between them be discussed from Anne Ramsey playing Sarah Logan. It just felt believable, and it felt like it was given time to really breathe and with each scene, it felt like every scene. Sometimes when in found footage, when characters are sat around chatting, it is nothing but exposition, setting up the next possible scare or possible terrifying moment. But yeah, this just felt like it was really taking its time to sort of flesh out these characters.
Yeah, I mean, when they sort of sit down and all have a drink together on the porch, and Anne Ramsey is talking, it basically is, a really great sort of queer representation of in Anne Ramsey, and when she's talking about how she kind of kissed a girl for the first time when she was really young, and her mum reacted really badly, and she got sent away to boarding school and things like that, and you could tell that that's where some of the tension has come from, and they didn't do it in a way that was like sort of trying to make it into this big issue. It was more like, this is coming out because she's getting drunk kind of thing, and it just seemed very natural. It was just a really nice way of sort of putting in a queer character, but not making it a big deal kind of thing. And for me, that was really great to see, because like a lot of queer characters don't really sort of get any good roles in horror movies.
Yeah, I really liked Anne Ramsey's character in this. Really interesting, really fun to watch, or really interesting to watch. She also had like her expression. She's got like a kind of beatific, weathered. She's kind of tired of all the stress that she's going through looking after her mum, and that it just seemed really kind of real. More so, I've got to say that the camera crew people, I didn't really get as much of a sense of like they were real people. They felt a bit kind of Avatar-ish in a way.
Especially one dude who, like, I swear, didn't really even get that many words. He didn't really get that many words. Man. He did not get words out of mouth. The cameraman dude. He was like, at one point, I was like, has he gone home? And then he turned up again. I was like, no, he's still there. He's still there. And I was, there's just two guys in beanies. That's all I kept thinking. Just like, all right, lads, how cold is it?
You could just use a tripod instead of him.
Yeah. Oh, poor Anne Ramsey getting her clothing choices slated by her mum constantly. She had a lovely T-shirt of a tiger on, and I was like, absolutely love that T-shirt. And then Deborah Logan's like, oh, I hate that T-shirt. Oh, yeah. I want to get possessed by a French murderer. What was that?
That's what she said. She was like, Deborah Logan's like, why can't you put a nice blouse on? She's like, I haven't got a nice blouse, mum. It's like,
so that's the thing. Like, it seems that she's still not accepted her daughter's sexuality. Yeah. Like, all these years later, when she sent her, what did she do? Send her to boarding school?
Sure.
But this is the thing. This is why I really appreciated Sarah Logan's character, because despite everything that her mum's put her through, not been accepting of her, she's still there, and she's still so determined to essentially save her. Like, throughout the movie, like, plenty of times where you go, I have literally had enough. I'm out of my depth. There's nothing I could do for you. I'm just gonna go off, or just gonna put you in a home or a hospital or something that could, so many other characters would have possibly done that or suggested that, but she never ever did. She was constantly, and even when the neighbor as well was just like saying, look, the film crew are here to exploit her. I'm gonna send them away. I'm gonna get rid of them. Even then, Sarah Logan was like, no, they're here to help. They're not going anywhere. So. Yeah,
which they were as well. I mean, obviously, we found out really early on that their intentions weren't exactly very good. When she lied to Deborah Logan and said that her grandfather had Alzheimer's, and then she sort of turns around and says,
"Yeah, of course."
Yeah, she said, she didn't know that. She doesn't need to know that, but my grandfather hadn't had Alzheimer's, and already you're like, okay, you guys are really shady. And I think that's why when it gets to the scene where they're showing her, one of her episodes, and showing her on the iPad, kind of saying like, this is what you did last night, that that their intentions are to exploit her anyway. So that's when I was, okay, that's fine. You wouldn't do that in real life, but I could tell that these guys are, not
60 days as well.
They're students or something, right?
Yeah.
Bloody students.
They're all the same, trying to exploit elderly women with Alzheimer's disease for their own gain. 60 days as well they were there. I was like, can you imagine that, like being told, we're going to make a movie about a woman who's got Alzheimer's disease, right? 60 days, live in, staying with her. You'd be like, can we just stay for a week? 60 days. I suppose maybe that was their intention initially, was to stay for a couple of weeks, but as things progressed and got more and more,
they converted like one of the bedrooms into like an editing station.
Oh yeah.
Like they had like a brand new desk, couple of IMAX, surround sound system there.
Yeah.
Green screen.
Start ordering some new curtains. Like, it could look nicer in here.
Yeah.
We're going to stay for
house
60 days.
I feel like I've seen that house in a horror movie before. Maybe it's just one of those houses. It kind of what the like pillars, like, is that what you call them at the front of the house?
Colonnades. Sticky front bits.
The house with the sticky out front bits. Yes. It's just right. I guess maybe there are definitely no houses in the UK that look like that. I was like,
yeah,
I want to live with something like that, but possibly be terrified as well.
So how's it start? So
the team turn up, don't
Oh.
they, at Deborah's house and say that they're here to make this documentary. They've been driving a long time, and they go and find Deborah, who's digging a hole, or possibly filling a hole with her neighbor.
Yeah.
What's the neighbor's name? Harris.
Harris, yeah.
Harris, yeah. And initially, like, Deborah's reluctant. She's a bit like, I kind of having second thoughts of initially. I know I said I was going to, and then we see like a conversation. The sneaky filmmakers are spying on them, and that is when Sarah's kind of trying to convince her to do it as well. Because I think they're getting paid, aren't they? They're getting paid.
Yeah.
There's some kind of grant thing going on. Yeah. That was weird. She says, "No, I don't want them to film me." And the way they try and win her around is by just sneakily filming her through a window.
Well, you don't want to be filmed. What if we did it and you never knew it was happening? I don't know. I don't know about that. It feels worse.
Yeah, Deborah Logan, like right from the start, she looks most normal at the start, but she doesn't look quite normal. Like she's kind of starey. In fact, Ben, you stood in front of her in a minute with her crazy eyes. Yeah, a strange.
This shot has been altered because she's definitely not got fog lights for eyes. But yeah, I guess she looks a bit like almost that she's trying to.
She looks like Mac the alien in a wig.
Oh,
At the end.
at the end. Not right now. You're not saying she does now. Now she kind of looks a bit like she's trying to cover up something by trying to act normal. She's trying to put on a good front for her family and this documentary film crew, without appearing like. But deep down, maybe she's struggling with something.
Yeah,
that's how I felt anyway. But yeah, and I think we get a little bit of background about her years when she was younger. She was like a switchboard operator, but it was in her house. Is that right?
I guess they got to take that home, that switchboard machine.
Yeah.
You used to take it to work every day.
One of the big wheel it in.
Ride it.
She was working from home before it was cool. She was switchboard operating all over the place. We got some pretty good of her like switchboarding really quickly as well, which was impressive.
Yeah.
DJing. Yeah, so I guess that this initial stage of the movie is just trying to show the slow degeneration of her and how various bizarre actions across a certain amount of days. And we see there's some medical stuff as well. Talked to some doctors who are saying she's got an aggressive form of Alzheimer's. Didn't they say it's got worse at some point as well? Got worse than they initially thought it was. She's on a load of medication. But yeah, I think in this initial stage, nobody thinks, look, something supernatural is afoot.
Yeah, it's played very straight. There's also lots of, I don't know, it is kind of studenty, but the music choices are kind of uplifting but somber kind of piano pop pieces. And it all feels like a pretty standard documentary. There's lots of like talking head bits where they're talking to Harris, the neighbor about Deborah, and he's like, "Don't." So obviously he likes her, and then they talk to the doctor. She's in the talking head. It also feels very normal documentary-esque. Nothing feels unusual at all until. I mean, even I don't know. When does it start getting creepy?
Is
He rips a piece of her throat out. Till then.
Oh yeah, that is a bit
Yeah.
odd. Now you
Yeah.
think about it, that is a bit odd. So she
Yeah.
like accuses. Initially, I was like, "What is she saying?" But she was accusing one of the documentary dudes of like stealing her spade.
Yeah.
So or like little. So she's. We didn't mention she's like a keen gardener. That's kind of what she does with a lot of her time, and a little trowel thing. For some reason, she's just decided that is it the camera? Not the camera guy, is it? Who is he? Is he the sound guy?
Yeah.
One of the guys in a beanie.
Yeah.
He's like, you start, and is she threatening him with a knife at this point?
Yeah, he climbs through the window.
He stands on a kitchen counter as well. What is with people standing on the kitchen counter? I don't think I've stood on a kitchen counter in my whole life.
I've
These
laid
guys.
Never lay on one on a hot summer. It's like I can't get cold, and you just lay on the kitchen counter. It's really refreshing.
Well, with your head in the freezer. I think you've told me that before. Now you've said that. You've told me that before. I've gone, Luke.
You've
I'm
laid
really
on my kitchen counter before. I have laid on your kitchen counter. It's good. I mean, now this is when I was like 11. I'm not too sure if I'll fit on it anymore.
I could, but probably like I'd have to go diagonally. Like the kitchen's not big enough for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that keeps happening for some reason. People are jumping up and yeah. So again, this is the reaction. She is it is an extreme episode where she's screaming and shouting. Yes, but it's sort of that thing of everybody surrounding her, camera in the face, people screaming and shouting. I was just like, wow, this is just insane. It feels like it's not the right way to deal with it, but I guess it wasn't the most realistic portrayal of that.
Yeah.
And then they do find the little mini spaders in the freezer. I think they find it eventually. So obviously it's chalked off at that point as being,
Deborah.
Deborah.
Yeah.
Deborah. It was in the freezer with the magnums.
Yeah.
Magnums in the US.
Trowels. Yeah.
Trowels. The trowel was in there. And then obviously what you just mentioned, there is a throat cutting out bit, which you could kind of see coming, or approaching somebody who's looking out of a window, approaching them from behind with a little hand, getting ready to turn them around as slow as possible.
I thought that was weird. At that point, they don't know she's like got a knife or doing anything dodgy, and they're treating her like she's a ghost. Like they're kind of sneaking up to her. That felt like wouldn't they just say they turn the light on and say, Deborah, stop it, what are you doing? Attack her with a cushion or something. I don't know. I've never.
There are a few. I know they are freaked out by her and her behaviours, but there are a few moments where they kind of walk into the room. I think even Sarah at one point is like, "You go first." It's like,
yeah,
it's your mum's house. But yeah, there's a few occasions where I can kind of understand it, but they're still sort of approaching it like there is definitely a supernatural being going to be in there, when in reality, like, it is just your mum. No matter, well, I suppose as it goes on, they're starting to believe that it is something else. After that, first thing you do though is get the knife out of her hand, right at the start of that whole scenario. Are you all right? You're still having an episode. You hold on to that knife for comfort.
Yeah.
Lovely cooling break. What she had? She just had a lozenge stuck in her throat, and she couldn't get it out.
What happens?
I'm gonna cut it out. Yeah. So there's that. And then what's the next? Again, these incidents are split up with fairly normal behavior from Deborah. Obviously, lots of her not remembering the day before when she did act like that. And I guess everybody's reaction to it as well.
Yeah.
When did they record her? And it ends, and it turns out she's speaking French.
I feel like that's like a good 45 minutes into it. I'm sure there's quite a bit into it, but they go to get her from the bed. I think one of them says she's gone. Like the daughter character is like she's missing, and then they find that door open. It's never open. It's like a hidden attic room, and then she says, "You go first," to the cameraman. And then they see her naked, sat at her switchboard, and she's like plugging stuff in, and she starts talking like really low guttural voices. Although I think we've missed a bit. There's a bit earlier on where she nails the window shut, and she's like talking as if there's something outside. There's a man outside in the garden or something. And then at some point they find her out. There's like blood on the nails and stuff, but she's ripped it open and climbed outside, and she's in the middle of the garden, attacking the floor or running around. I'm not entirely sure.
Digging. Is she? Is she just like digging?
That's the bit where she gets possessed, right? I feel like that's the turning point.
Well, she was digging in the same place where they were digging at the start of the film. That's what I kind of got from that. Was that right? Or did I?
Yeah.
It felt like that was what they were doing. Yeah. Isn't there a moment as well where the cameraman, she's giving not the cameraman, the other dude. Who is that dude? The editor. She's giving him a bit of jip again. He's walking around in the dark, and she appears. And what does she say?
Hey,
says something. Hey up, Chuck. And there's a weird moment where the window light is open when she didn't move. Is that right?
Yeah.
So he shows them the footage afterwards and said, "Look, the window was closed." And when he turns to Deborah, and she says, "You're letting all the air out, the hot air out."
Yeah, that's
all
right.
of a sudden, the window is open, kind of thing. It's all like, it's all wide open, and it's within a split second. So he shows that to one of the other documentary filmmakers, and that's when they start to realise that sort of weird shit's happening.
Yeah. And that's when they review the footage of her, and it looks like she pops up on the kitchen worktop. They're like, the time code hasn't changed. But I think if you saw that, you would always just go, well, the footage is somehow damaged. There's a glitch. There's something wrong. I don't think you'd ever just go, the time code didn't move, so clearly she's
obviously teleported.
Yeah.
I know some people who will watch that and go, supernatural. But I would instantly think, well, they just overlaid the time code afterwards. A
little teleportation. There's a little bit of blue smoke when she did that. She's definitely a mutant.
Bamf. I always wondered what the Bamf actually sounded like in real life. The Nightcrawler Bamf.
They perfected it in X2, didn't they? That's the.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
unless it was so good.
Nightcrawler, Alan Cumming turns up in the Oval Office at the start of X-Men 2. Probably
Did it make
the best.
Bamf noise?
Yeah. Very Bamfy. That was great, that scene, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's probably the best.
It probably is the best in all the X-Men movies. And then they had a different guy playing him, didn't they? They had that
Kobe.
Yeah, that's right. Good times.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's not Nightcrawler, definitely not.
Yeah.
So yeah, when she's in the attic naked doing her switchboardery, she's uttering a load of scary stuff. Like, this was scary. I mentioned this did give me the chills. This little bit. I think it's just that deep guttural. Like, can you imagine like someone you love just starts speaking like they don't speak French, and they don't sound like Cannibal Corpse vocalist. Usually in day-to-day life, suddenly they do. You're like, Jesus Christ. And there's like an explosion as well. Like, it shorts out, and there's like some.
There's a flash of like a demon as well.
What were you going to say?
There's a flash of like a demon's face as well.
Yeah.
So it explodes.
I meant to go back and frame by frame it, but I forgot. There is a flash of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's effective as well, I feel like, in demonic possession movies. Obviously, way back from The Exorcist with the flash Pazuzu face. That is effective. Like, sure, we see it all the time, but yeah, I'm glad that that was kind of like the one instance of it. So I'm glad that they kind of just did it once and didn't start overdoing it. And as you mentioned, Luke, with at least the camera wasn't constantly flickering and shorting out, and yeah, it was it wasn't too heavy-handed with a lot of that stuff, which I kind of appreciated. So yeah, then they get the recording from the camera and realize that she's speaking French, GCSE French, all the basic stuff, you know.
So du fromage in the paraculi il ne parle. I can't remember.
Discotheque. Just doing the Flight of Conchords song there.
Jacques Cousteau. Yeah.
Jacques Cousteau. Yeah. So did they reverse it and realize that she's speaking French? But some creepy stuff she's saying, isn't it? There's like stuff about sacrifices, the blood.
Yeah, and they kind of realised that she's speaking about someone who had died in the town, who was quite infamous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they must Google something. How do they work this out? Because they do.
That sounds about right. Henry Desjardins. Oh no, I think they did maybe do a bit of Googling, but they ask Mr. Harris.
Yeah.
I think Harris is the one who says, yeah, he was infamous. He stole some girls, killed them ritualistically. Then he goes kind of documentary. He goes, Henry Desjardins was, is he a dentist, orthodontist?
I remember how they work. Orthodontist. I think so. One of the lines keeps ringing constantly. The switchboard lines, and they get like loads of old paperwork from Deborah and work out that line 337 and the page has been ripped out, and they do a classic grave rubbing thing, whatever it's called, but they do that on the paper, and they find out Henry Desjardins' name, and then I think they Google it and find out that
there you go.
He was a local nonce. Basically, they go to the local nonce database, which is always updated. It's always updated. And they basically find out that he did a load of murders, cannibalistic, ritualized murders of 4 young girls. And then there was potentially going to be a 5th victim, and I can't remember what happened. I think he disappeared.
Yeah. Some kind of ritual with like satanic ritual with snakes and all sorts of things, and it was not nice news.
His house smelled. I remember them saying his house really stunk. His
house absolutely freaked. It stunk in there.
It's full of dead snakes or something. They've been like,
I kind of like that. I kind of like that they went for this angle because I was worried that they were going to play it back and it's like, oh, she's speaking Latin. This is such an ancient language only uttered by the. Do you know what I mean? I thought it was going to go in that direction. I was like, wow. The fact that she was speaking French and it kind of linked to somebody else was like, oh, okay, that's very interesting. Where they're going with this. Does Gavin quit the film as well around about now? Oh no! Sorry, I've skipped ahead.
Yeah. So, Figgy's at the hospital. I think she even tries to escape with a child pretty quickly.
Yeah, she tries it once, and she tries to go and get a child, and when she's in the hospital, they do all sorts of horrible things. They do like a spinal tap on her and all sorts.
Yeah, that was grim. So obviously they look at her back, and her back sort of coming out all these welts and sores, and they sort of start doing has she been doing anything with fertilizer? Has she been mucking about with fertilizer on her back? Has she been exposed to this? And the doctors are sort of they have pretty much no idea about what could be wrong with her. And they do that was the spinal thing was spinal fluid drain, whatever they did was pretty grim. And then I'm assuming obviously the cancer ward is nearby because she just goes out and just scoops up a little girl who's in the ward and goes off of her. The fact that it happens once, you can kind of understand. The fact that it happens again later, I was just like, my God. Just, what is going on?
Yeah.
Keep an eye on her. Well, I suppose she's got supernatural powers, so.
So Harris is telling them to not look into Desjardins or something. He's trying to scare off I don't actually know, but he's trying to get rid of the film crew. So he starts shooting up the car.
Yeah.
And he gets arrested. He's like drunk, and they take him away.
Classic small town police force as well, where they just turn up and go, Harris, what are you like? Firing a shotgun.
Yeah.
You silly boy. Come on, in the drunk tank with you.
I try to remember. So one of the film crew does leave.
Yeah, he's just like, I've had enough. See you later. Gavin. He's like, had enough, obviously. Yeah,
say again.
He drives it off and just leaves them there, doesn't he? He takes the car.
Yeah.
So obviously they find Deborah with the little girl in the hospital, just like in a where are they? Like in a sort of abandoned, weird. It looks like actually a kitchen or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like it's almost like a sort of walk-in freezer or something like that. And they're both sort of facing the wall, like Blair Witch style.
Yeah, that was pretty creepy. I thought maybe it was going to kick off, but not really. They kind of just go, Deborah, what are you playing at? And she doesn't say anything. She's got that vacant look on her face, vacant, but like she will rip your throat out if you push her too far.
Yeah,
sort of terrifying look. I've just looked at the thing in the background again for a second. Whoa, those eyes. So what happens? I think they do a bit more digging into the Desjardins stuff. He was trying to recreate some like ancient ritual that would make him immortal, but it required the deaths of 5 girls that had recently had their first period. I don't remember. It says that in the description here. I don't remember that being discussed.
The period blood was like an offering to the devil because he was dying. I think that was it. So he was dying, and then this ritual was supposed to give him everlasting life. There's also there was some kind of scientist they were talking to about it, some sort of occult scientist. But he also told them about the African. He spent some time in Africa, which is full of this kind of stuff. You can't swing a cat for being getting involved in some crazy hijinks. But there's a mother whose baby died, and she never let go of it, and it kind of for weeks she had this like I don't want to say rotting baby. That sounds really offensive. This sort of melting, wivering baby. Rotting baby.
And whimpering. I don't know if they're better words than
say.
Decomposing a baby body.
Decomposing a baby body, and body. And but then he said like she started to talk. The child started to speak through her, and it was only when he ripped the pile of baby from her hands and threw it into a fire that she was free of the spell.
Yeah.
So
that sounds like that almost sounds like a terrible example for that occult guy to give, because it's like the baby started talking through her. Like if it was like, I don't know, an adult or somebody else, he started talking through her and he was saying things that only that person could know that convinced it. But what's she going to be saying? Where you're like, that's definitely a baby talking through her. What's the baby saying? What was that?
That's the baby, that.
That's the baby.
I always say gaga.
That's uncanny. Yeah. So yeah, I think
that's how they know that they've got to sort of purify it, isn't it? But purify it by fire. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Fire
so then they go in search of the other victim that he'd either buried. I always get it confused whether the body that they find in the loft is either him or it's meant to be one of his victims.
I think it's him. Yeah. Because when they try and burn it, it doesn't burn and snakes pop out of it. Yeah.
That's all.
So Deborah's at hospital. There's a lot of hospital trips, isn't there? There's almost like there's a little time lapse bit of the hospital they're back there again.
Yeah.
And Harris visits her. And she does say to Harris, Deborah does say to Harris, "Kill me," doesn't she?
Yeah. And he tries to smother her with a pillow. And the whole room starts shaking, and then the TV that's on the wall sort of launches itself at him.
One of those TVs when they're not fixed in.
Yeah. Like CRT telly.
CRT telly to the back of the head. See, if that was a flat screen, he would have been all right. If it's a flat screen, he might have gone, "Ow!
Yeah.
What's that?" So yeah, that happens, but he doesn't die, does he? He's
just gets bad.
Concussion.
Yeah.
And then he says to Sarah, he sort of explains some stuff, doesn't he? He says, What does he say? He basically explains that
she was the fifth child. They tried to. He was gonna kill her in this cave, this certain cave.
Yeah.
And they saved her by killing him. Like Deborah stabbed him in the neck with a trowel. I think that was the. And then they buried him in the garden.
So what were they doing in the garden that day? Just digging him up to check if he was still there?
Don't know, but I think maybe they were. I don't know if they were doing that or if they were moving him to there. I think later on when they find Deborah out and she's digging like a dog in the garden, I think at that point she's possessed. She puts the trowel in there and puts the dead body in the loft.
In the loft. Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So, yeah, there's another, obviously, part of it where the documentary crew and Sarah go into the loft, find a bag of body. I want to look at it. I was annoyed that they didn't show us a look at it. It was kind of like, ah!
Did we get to see it? Did we get to see a bit of skull or something? I thought we did. Maybe we didn't.
Yeah, you couldn't really see anything. It just looked like a sort of gross, like black, like almost tar person inside it.
Yeah.
And then they try and throw it into the fire. Load of snakes.
Load of lighter fluid. Too much, some would say. I think Mia's like, put more lighter fluid on it. Come on, get it. Come on, be a bit more generous with it. I am. No, didn't work. All the snakes come out. Pretty terrifying
explosion
stuff.
as well.
Yeah, big old explosion. And I think around about now is when Deborah goes and actually abducts the girl again. Just keep them apart, lock some doors, move her to a different area of the hospital. Mm-hmm. Isn't that straightforward? But anything, because we see this little girl.
Hospitals are dead easy to get lost in as well. Deborah must be amazing finding a way around. Like you can't walk around hospital and know exactly where you're going. It's unreal to expect. Even if you're possessed, even a person possessed by a demon, I think we're like, where the fuck am I?
Also, how long ago did this doctor die? Because that hospital might have been rebuilt or done out by then. He'd be well lost. Oh God, I don't remember it being like this.
It's a new wing.
A new wing? Oh, silly me! I'm going to do an abduction.
Yeah.
So.
By radiology.
So we see some footage of Deborah doing so. There's like a security guard in there, and she bites his neck, which is pretty bad. But yeah, so the documentary crew and Sarah go after Deborah with their new information. I think there's a sheriff as well who
a friend, Sarah's
ex.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Sarah's ex. So she goes ahead at one point, doesn't she? So where do they go? So they go to, is it like a cave /
Yeah, it's like some sort of park. What do you call it in America? Parks and Rec, that kind of place. You know what I mean? It's like a walking trail, I think, and there's like a cave at the top. It's probably a gift shop.
I like how Deborah steals a car as well, GTA style. Like, get out of there! I'm possessed. I'm taking this one. Get in the back. We're going. Press it.
So there's two sheriffs. There's the ex and there's like a guy. They go to. They find him outside the cave. They go to get her, and she kind of like sprays the guy.
Yeah.
With like mouth acid. Yeah. Yeah, her hair and skin kind of flaps like that. And she puts the acid on. It's not even acid. It's just gross spit. It's like this is disgusting.
Disgusting, man.
Yeah, this is not worth it. You get spat on by an old lady, and then so the ex goes in to get her. She's like, "Stay here. I'll go get her." But then Sarah, she like waits for like 2 minutes, and then she goes, "No, I'm going to go in." Her and the camera lady go in, and they find the ex on the floor. Now, ex alive.
Ex alive. You're going for that. She used to be alive. Now she's dead. Ex alive. Yeah, and then they do sort of this. Obviously, it gets really sort of claustrophobic at this stage, and it did remind me of movies like As Above, So Below, and I say Grave Encounters as well. But I feel like I've just said that because you mentioned it earlier. I don't even remember it that much, but it feels kind of like that, almost like a bit like Wreck as well, I guess. At the end of Wreck, where everything's kind of close quarters, and there's that sort of night vision hue as well. Is that kind of happening in this?
Yeah, for a little bit, not for very long, but yeah, it sort of reminded me of the Blair Witch sequel, like not Book of Shadows.
I've never seen it. Oh,
yeah. What, when they're in the house?
Yeah, there's there's sort of the sequel to the original movie, so not Book of Shadows, but like there's a 2016 sequel, but like the last 20 minutes of that movie are really, really scary, and really claustrophobic. So if you haven't seen it, watch it. But it really reminded me of that in the sort of caves.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty creepy, and obviously we get some good shots now of Deborah looking definitely beyond just unwell, and definitely beyond maybe even just possessed, because she's almost like her physical form is altering. She's got like snake neck going on.
Yeah.
Classic case of snake neck going on there. And then obviously we get probably the most iconic moment from this movie, but also genuinely terrifying. And it was a thing that I'd seen before, but didn't know it was from this movie.
Right.
So it's like it was one of those. I think I'd seen it as like, oh, I thought it was from another film, or maybe I even thought it was one of those moments which had been. It wasn't even from a film; it had just been from a short or something like that. So when I saw it, it kind of all came together. But yeah, pretty damn terrifying. So Deborah, who's fully snake possessed now, her neck's opening. Anaconda, like when Anaconda eats John Voight in Anaconda, she's doing that to the kid, eating the kid's head. The kid looks up for it. I'll be honest. The kid's almost like leaning forward. The kid's almost leaning forward, like, go on.
To be a mini milk. Go on.
Go on then, if you got to, Deborah.
I bet it does feel quite nice to have your head sucked like that. You get to hairdressers. I mean, no. Those you haven't been for a while, I imagine.
Which hairdressers have you been to? Jesus. Okay, while you're there, we got the full works for you. We're going to give you a lovely shoulder.
We're going to give you the Deborah Logan.
We're going to give you the Deborah Logan. Deborah, get in here.
Get down off the counter, Deborah. We've got a customer in. And
down off the counter.
But I had hair once upon a time, and I went to the hairdressers, and they give you like a hair I thought I had a job interview, so I thought I'm going to pay for a proper one, and they gave you like a proper hair wash and kind of massage your head and stuff. Imagine like massaging your head with a tongue, giving you a nice little temple wash.
So nice.
I bet it feels quite nice.
I don't think it's not a massage, is it? She's definitely trying to.
Oh, she's trying to eat you. Yeah, I mean that's the problem. That's far I'd say there.
Just let it happen. What would have happened? Would she like swallowed her down like a?
Yeah, I guess. It just reminded me of like when Scooby Doo has those like giant sandwiches and his mouth opens up to the size of the sandwich. It's just like that. It just reminded me of that.
Bulk and Skull get their lunch out of their bag in Power Rangers. It's like a massive long baguette. Don't worry, that's going down. Don't worry about it.
Cool. I've thought about that for a while.
Basically, Deborah Logan's deep throat.
Yeah.
Deborah Logan's deep throat technique is paying. Sorry. Shouldn't have said that. It sounded better in my head than it did when it came out.
I'll just say, like, it's a great horror movie moment. It's worth even if you're not a fan of found footage horror movies, it's just a really good moment to watch. Worth it.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a sort of iconic moment that not a lot of people have seen, but then whenever I sort of introduce someone to it, they've already introduced other people to it because they're like, you've got to watch it just for this bit kind of thing.
Yeah.
And even when they sort of take the child away from her and her jaws are like sort of elongated, almost like Predator style. It looks really good. It looks like it's just really gnarly, but it looks really cool.
Yeah. I can't remember how this ends.
So Sarah shoots her, doesn't she? Or shoots at her. She does shoot her.
Yeah.
Wait, does she die, Deborah?
No, she's so they have to obviously burn the body.
Yeah.
So they burn.
Oh yeah.
And they had to do it in that cave for plot reasons, I imagine.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't do that at home.
No. Situation.
What they had done if it didn't burn? Like,
that's it. Give up. Yeah.
Give up.
We've got the bad ending. Start again.
Well, yeah. Well, in a way, this is the bad ending, isn't it? Because there's like a news story. Wait. Sorry. So first of all, is Deborah is being wheeled out of a court. She's like in a wheelchair. She looks pretty much completely out of it, and she's deemed unfit to stand trial for the crime she committed, which was obviously abduction, the murder of the police officer, the sheriff woman. The other guy didn't die, did he? Acid face.
No, I mean he's probably not having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's proper burned. And also the sucking of a child's head, which is in a way the worst crime of all.
But she sucked out all the cancer, right? Like she's not getting cancer anymore. Like she's making a full recovery, full head of hair. Lucky bitch.
Yeah, full head of hair. Well, good for you.
But she's celebrating a birthday, and then they're like, "What do you want to be when you grow older?" And then she doesn't say anything overtly, but you could tell she's thinking a snake.
100%.
So obviously, it's a very sinister smile, almost like comedic in a way, where I was a bit like, "Oh, that's creepy," and then she held it for so long. I was a bit like, "Okay, it's not creepy anymore. It's gonna just wrong." I don't know.
Yeah.
So obviously,
At the time she's eating, she's sucking on the mini milk as she's looking at the camera.
shedding her skin. What are you doing? Shed a bit, just shed my skin. So obviously, it's pretty much hinted at, but I think it's quite. It's very obvious that old French man is.
What's his name? Henry. Did you see that thing when they go, Henry? And she goes, what? You little.
You little murdering
scamp
bastard. Imagine that though, like if you were dying and you were worried about being dead and you're like, I want to live forever, it just must be weird suddenly being like, oh, I'm in an old lady's body and now I'm in a 10-year-old kid's body.
Wild ride. I think he'd probably be happy with how that ended up. He's got lots of life left at that point, and I'm guessing he's gonna. This reminds me of the Skeleton Key. Skeleton Key, is that the one where Have you seen that one, Ben?
Is it Kate Hudson?
Yeah, Kate Hudson. Yeah,
I think I have seen it. Yeah, I don't remember much about it though.
Spoilers for that. Press a little 30 seconds skip button. But yes, it's
I've not seen it. Oh yeah, I have. Sorry. Go on.
The butler and maid of voodoo people, and they take over the kids in the family, and then this is later on, and they eventually take over Kate Hudson and the real estate agent or something. But they're kind of living immortally that way. So this is a kind of a similar idea, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's that. That is the end.
I've got some name game for you guys if you're up for a little bit of name game.
Yeah, do you know how name game works?
I know. I've listened to this enough now. But I know what's going on.
There we go.
The first one, I watched a film about an elderly woman battling Alzheimer's disease who agrees to let a film crew document her drive to work, where they document the many cars passing by her. So, elderly woman, and they're filming her. They're filming her drive to work.
Takeover of Deborah Logan? No.
They document many cars passing by her.
The overtaking of Deborah Logan.
Deborah.
I don't know where takeover came from. Sorry.
Takeover. All right, so when I watched about an elderly woman battling Alzheimer's disease, she agrees to let a film crew document her condition, and she plays that game from Bonsai, where they don't let go of people's hands.
The handshaking of Deborah Logan.
Shaking of Deborah Logan.
I've literally not thought about that for a decade.
Yeah.
What a great show, Bonsai.
This next one, elderly woman battling Alzheimer's disease agrees to let a film crew document her condition, but what they discover is something far more sinister going on. She's actually a baked confectionery dessert.
The baking of Deborah Logan.
Close.
No?
Very close.
The
I mean, this isn't really a word, to be fair. But she's a baked confectionery dessert.
Caking?
There you go. Baking of Deborah
See,
Logan.
what I'm confused about is in my head I prepared for this thinking you were going to replace the word Logan with something else or Deborah. I don't know. I don't know what. And now it's all taking stuff.
Well,
I'm baffled.
It's throwing you off.
Hang on to your balls. Wow, said that for a while. So this next one, elderly woman battling Alzheimer's disease, she agrees to let a film crew document her condition. The way they discover is she's actually a sausage roll. You already got this one and the last one.
The baking of Deborah Logan.
Well done.
I swiped that from Stu's grasp. He earned it, but I took it. Sorry.
But also fully watch the baking of Deborah Logan.
Yeah, I would as well. Yeah. This one is if the last four have been kind of like easy mode, this is insane mode. Name game.
Oh God. What a
yeah. An elderly woman battling samurais in feudal Japan agrees to let a film crew document her condition, but what they discover is that she isn't who she said she was.
The taking of Deborah Shogun.
Halfway there, but she isn't who she said she is.
The faking of Deborah Shogun.
Almost there. Who's going to get it first?
Oh.
The faking of... Wait, have you replaced the word Deborah with something?
You're halfway there. Deborah Shogun.
You haven't got much left.
It's the other half.
Isn't who she says she is.
Faking is probably works better, in all honesty.
I'm stumped.
Yeah, same.
Well, the mistaking of Deborah Shogun.
Amazing.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Another one. An elderly woman battling hang on a second. An elderly woman battling Alzheimer's, not samurais, goes missing, and then Liam Neeson has to save her.
The taken of Deborah Logan. I will find you. I keep thinking about the baking of Deborah Logan now. Like, imagine a Great British Bake Off scenario where all the other contestants are just contestants, and one of them's possessed by a French murderer.
And she's just on the counter all the time.
Like a French dessert. Yeah, go to the counter, Deborah. This is my method.
Try to film.
What was the one in the Great British Bake Off? The hosts had a big switcheroo. Whoever was the older lady before the current older lady. Does that make sense?
Mary Berry.
Yeah. Deborah Logan.
Wait. Oh, yeah.
It's kind of similar.
Some similarities there, yeah.
Yeah.
And Paul Hollywood is the neighbour. Basically, we're going to remake The Taking of Deborah Logan. Mary Berry as Deborah Logan. Paul Hollywood is the neighbour. Noel Field. Yeah.
Noel Fielding is Sarah.
Noel Fielding is Sarah, yeah. And she'll still say, "Are you wearing your dad's shirt?" all the time.
I would give money to that Kickstarter if you were gonna make that.
We'll add it to the pile of possible Kickstarters we're already cooking up, including the feudal Japan. Deborah Logan.
Deborah Shogun. Yeah.
Wow.
need to rate the film. I say it's all right.
Yeah.
Do you say all right in Bristol? Like in Mansfield or Nottingham, should we say all right instead of all right?
I mean, probably not, but I understand. I understand it.
Okay.
Do you remember when we used to say? We used to say this on Horror Hangout all the time. We used to go, "It's time to rate the film. Is it rate good or is it rate bad?" We used to say that all the time. Then one day we stopped. What happened?
I don't know.
Moved on.
It evolves. It evolves. This show. It's an ever-evolving content beast. Yeah. Stu, you go first. What are you going to rate it?
Okay. I mean, for me, it's like a solid sort of B plus. Like I think, as found footage movies go, like apart from the classics, you can't really get much better than this one. For me, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I might go just a little bit lower. I think I've been ever so generous with my ratings recently. I've been ever so generous. So I think I'll go for a B minus with this because it was a lot better than I expected it to be. I think it was a very sort of well measured a bit of a character study as well as being like a found footage movie about a possession. Hit all the classic beats a possession movie does, but I felt like it also offered something extra to that. So yeah, and obviously Jill Larson's performance was great as well. Very effective. So I'll go for a B minus.
Cool. I am going to go for a B plus as well. I just think it. I mean, I've got a soft spot for found footage movies, and this one is it's one of the best, one of the better ones. B plus, B positive. That's what I always say
B
when I'm rating Deborah Logan.
Yeah. Very nice. There we go. That's it. Stu, where can we direct? That is the next part of the show. You're right. Luke looked like he struggled with a. Is it a back spasm?
Yeah.
I've
got back issues. Yeah. It wasn't a back spasm. I've just been sat in a certain way for so long that when I moved, my back was like, "No, you ain't."
You started speaking French.
Yeah.
Really effective. I can't even think of a French word.
Je t'aime.
Je t'aime.
Yeah.
Both. So, Stu, where can we direct listeners of this podcast to your YouTube channel or your social media or anywhere to find more?
So both my YouTube and Instagram are StuTube. So it's STOOTOOB, StuTube. And yeah, I try and upload something at least once a week, minimal. So I'm slightly slacking. I've got to do something this week because I didn't do anything last weekend. But yeah, there's all sorts of content on there. So yeah, something for everyone, I hope.
Cool. Yeah, so definitely go check that out. I've actually liked and subscribed.
Thank you, sir.
Whilst recording.
I think I liked. I'm going to go one better. I liked and subscribed, and I even stuck the old notification bell on. That's commitment there.